Welcome inside another edition of Vikings Update. I'm Mark Potts, Sports Information Director at Valley City State. We will open this week's show by recapping the basketball season. Viking women went to the national tournament for the fourth time in history earlier this month. We'll tell you how that went, and we'll also talk about baseball and softball. They are in full swing, and we will talk with head coach Casey Olney of the Viking baseball team later in the show. We'll start this week's show by wrapping up the Viking basketball seasons. VCSU women played in the NAIA National Tournament March 9th in Sioux City, Iowa. Tough draws, the Vikings faced undefeated Southeastern University out of Florida in the first round. VCSU, though, hung tough with the fire throughout the first half. The Vikings hit 5 three-pointers in the second quarter, including a buzzer beater by Lexi Lennon, as they trailed by just 3 at halftime, 36-33. The Vikings actually hit buzzer beater shots at the end of the first, second, and third quarters, but it wasn't enough as Southeastern was just too good. The Fire pulled away in the second half for an 87-58 victory. 4 Vikings in double figures, led by Georgia Williams, who finished with 18 points. The Vikings end the season with a 24-9 overall record, tying the school record for wins set by the 2012-13 team. It was the 4th time in program history that VCSU qualified for the national tournament. More postseason honors announced last week as junior guard Lexi Lennon was named Honorable Mention All-American for the Viking women, and on the men's side, junior forward Jaden Ferguson was named Honorable Mention All-American as well for the second straight season. Congratulations to Lexi and Jaden. Daktronics NAIA Scholar athletes were also announced last week, and 6 Viking basketball players earned that academic honor. Congratulations go out to Georgia Williams, Paige Meyer, Lexi Lennon, Sarah Schwanke, Rashad Sadahu, and Alex Quist. Viking softball recently wrapped up its spring break trip to Tucson, Arizona. VCSU played 14 games over an 8-day stretch. The Vikings posted a 5-9 record while in Tucson. VCSU softball now 12-16 overall and 3-3 in North Star Conference play. The Vikings are scheduled to host Mayville State on Saturday and play at Mayville State on Sunday. Those games are currently up in the air due to the weather forecast. Stay tuned to VCSUVikings.com and our Twitter account for the latest information on those games. Viking baseball also went down to Tucson last week. They posted a 5-5 record during their spring trip. The baseball team is now 6-15 overall this season. They are scheduled to host Mayville State for games on Saturday and Sunday. The status of those games, of course, also currently up in the air due to weather forecast. Watch VCSUVikings.com and the VCSU Vikings Twitter account for changes or announcements related to those games this weekend. Joined on this week's edition of Vikings Update by Casey Olney, head baseball coach here at Valley City State. And, Coach, just wrapped up your spring trip to Tucson. 10 games down there in Tucson, 10 varsity games, posted a 500 record, 5-5 overall. Your general thoughts on some of the good things, some of the bad things that you experienced on that trip?
Some quality wins. You know, we got off to a 4-1 start, beat some good teams, a couple teams from the GPAC. It was all quality competition, so there were no cupcakes along the way. I thought, you know, the issue is really consistency. Some games were firing on all cylinders and all phases, and some games where we're missing a phase. And, you know, I think of the losses, we just couldn't overcome that. The positive is I saw growth, you know, especially in the pitching staff and offensively. I think the defensive side of the ball was probably the most consistent, and that's a positive. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a chance to get out there and get our guys a ton of at-bats, experience, and overall a lot of positives to look back on from the week.
You're a very senior-heavy team this year. A lot of veterans on your team that have been playing for 3-4 years, significant roles. Are you seeing that help out here in the early season as compared to maybe past years?
Well, yeah, that's always a help. You know, there's things that the seniors have experienced. You know, they've been through it. It's not some of the basic learning. It's a little higher level learning for them, and it's just a matter of getting out on the field. You know, some of those guys like Ben and Joe, who we didn't have in the fall, and Tyler Eukstead, who, you know, those guys play football. For them, just getting back in the flow of things, and for the other guys, it's just trying to maintain consistency.
So you are scheduled to host home games this weekend, currently up in the air, Mayville State, Saturday, Sunday. What's our prognosis? When are we getting outside finally?
Well, we were outside yesterday setting up the field, but no baseball. I think this weekend the chances are pretty slim that we'll be on our field. So we're looking at alternatives. You know, I think the western part of the state looks a lot better. So we're calling Dickinson, we're calling Bismarck, looking for field options. We need to play those games, and we have Thursday to Monday to do it. So I'm working with the Mayville staff to try and locate a spot. Unless the forecast changes, I don't think we'll be able to play here. We're just not quite ready. So,
looking at the conference season coming up, that's what you start this weekend against Mayville State. There's really 3 teams that seem to kind of separate themselves in the non-conference play. Some teams that are kind of in the middle, some teams on the bottom. What are you expecting going into conference play?
Well, I've said all along, and I still believe this, we have the talent and experience to be in that top tier. And if you take the fall, we didn't perform that way, and you look at where we're at right now. 5-7 in the spring. We're close, and we've beat some teams that have beat those teams. So for us, it's just a matter of sorting out the roles on the pitching staff and getting consistent performances offensively and defensively, and our goal is to be in that top tier and compete come conference tournament time. So that just takes consistent improvement along the way and consistent work. We have to understand that we're not done working just because the season is here, and if we do that, we should be in good shape.
And that conference tournament will be in Valley City, first week of May. Valley City State and University of Jamestown co-hosting that conference tournament. Coach, we appreciate the time. Hopefully you get to play some games this weekend, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, Mark.